Welcome back. Our next guest is a host, writer, and producer of Underground Magnolia Podcast. She joins us today to speak about the goals behind her podcast and to shine a light on other projects that she's working on. So please welcome to the show, Desiréia Valteau.
Hi.
Desiréia, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Have you been in the business some time and you're doing a lot of wonderful things in the arts? What is the meaning of Underground Magnolia and what inspired you to create that?
Underground Magnolia, actually my daughter came up with that name for me. But I am from New Orleans, Louisiana, and the flower is the magnolia. So Underground Magnolia, in the sense that I'm coming at you, flowers are delicate and nice. And, and when we hear magnolia, still magnolia, they're tough women. So there's like double meanings. But with Underground Magnolia, it's like I'm going to reel you in with my topics, and they will then hit you over the head with wait a minute, wow. So Underground Magnolia is just making sure that people know that I have something serious to say.
Not only that, the good food from New Orleans.
That's right.
Yeah. So talk about some of the content that you're producing right about now.
So what I am producing right now, a lot of podcasts, people are forced, you should focus on one topic, but I'm like, well, why can't it be like a magazine where, you open up a magazine and you have several topics? So I've been doing different shows focusing on Black women and women of color. So, of course, I interviewed the wonderful Melba Moore, who is a legend.
Yeah.
I've interviewed another Southern African singer from Botswana, Lorraine Lionheart.
Oh, yeah.
Those are my latest shows.
You just performed for Queen, didn't she?
She has performed for the Royals, and that's coming up in the summer. Where she will be part of the Jubilee.
Oh, beautiful!
That's coming up in June.
Excellent.
And so my other topics, I've interviewed real estate agents, beauty entrepreneurs. I've also interviewed Cynthia Hardy, who is known throughout the Atlanta area and beyond for her leadership seminars and her book. So I'm covering, mental illness, mental health, and a lot of African Americans in particular and other people of color who are not used to, dealing with mental health. And, it's kind of like, you don't need mental health, you just need to go to church and that sort of thing. But what we have learned about through COVID is that, that, hey, we do need help. So that was kind of an impetus for getting people, especially Black people and other people of color, to get mental health. And it's like, and someone explained it to me, if you have to go to the doctor, look at your mental health situation as the same thing as just going to a doctor because you have a problem with your heart or your arms or something.
Well, it's a stigma. So a lot of people don't want to be associated with having to go to the doctor for mental health issues or anything like that. So I can understand why people are like suppressing it, sort of, kind of. But you need to check that out too, as long as along with all the physical aspects of your body. Mental health is very important. Yes. So what are some of the topics covered by the Underground Magnolia podcast? You mentioned some of them. What are some of the others?
A series that I've started, and I want it to be an ongoing series. It's called Chasing DNA and Family Roots.
Yeah.
So, so that is a huge thing. Of course, since Roots, the actual television show back in the late 70s, early 80s, that spurred a lot of African Americans to start looking for their roots. And really, we haven't stopped looking for our roots. And over the years, there have been many other instances where we are propelled to look at our roots. And coming from New Orleans, which was the at one time the largest slave port, there's just so much history there. And even though I grew up there, it was like, shh, don't talk about that. Shh, don't talk about it. Even though, we're looking like I look, you have people of all different backgrounds. And, when people watch the Cosby Show, it's like, nobody looks like that. It's like, have you been to New Orleans?
Yeah.
We are all different colors.
Exactly.
So I really didn't start to find out about New Orleans history until I moved away to the Los Angeles area. And then I started going back home to visit my parents. And I would go to the French Quarter, and I would go to the docks, which we call the Moonwalk. And then I started being like, oh my God. So when I was there just recently in November, I went to the spot where Solomon Northup was actually sold. He's the subject of 12 Years of a Slave. And I stood there and I took pictures and just took it all.
What was that feeling
in?
Knowing that you come from there and knowing that all of these things were going on in history? Didn't some sort of feeling come over you?
I mean, it definitely makes you think about where you come from and what all this means and why was it suppressed? Why? And it's still suppressed, of course, with all the recent people not wanting to hear about critical race theory, but it's not a theory.
I put it in a book.
It actually happened. It actually happened, and these are things. It's like I have come to the realization as I've gotten older that everything that we do is inspired by. I mean, this country was founded on slavery, and a lot of things, with gun control and police, a lot of that comes out of people trying to suppress slaves. And if we don't understand that as a people, not just Black people, but everyone involved, you can't just push it under the rug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's your Chasing DNA and Family Roots episode.
Yeah. So with that, I have 3 parts. Where I interview Dina Chasen, who is a genealogist, and we go over my DNA root. So I took the Ancestry, one of the more popular tests, and I gave her my profile, so to speak, and we went over it. And I was telling her when I first was trying to do it, we want to find our roots. We want to find out where we're from in West Africa. Well, I'm expecting 1 or 2 countries, 3 at the most. I got like 8 African nations, and And of course, that leads into a whole thing about trading and as you go along the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
And so it's like so now I'm more confused than ever. And then so it's like one of the things with those tests, when you decide that you want to do those tests, are you getting more answers or more questions? So now I have more questions.
Yeah.
But
then did you have a split? Like, you had the Black part of your family and the white part of your family? Like when I took it, of course, my family goes off into Italy, my mother's side, and the African side, my father's side. And we had Nigeria and Benin and the Congos and all of that stuff. And then you look at the other side, Italy and some other parts of Europe.
Yeah, so I had
it's really amazing.
So I had Nigeria, Senegal. Mali was thrown in there, which is kind of interesting. But when you think about it, because my last name is Valteau.
Well, it's a French.
That's French. And so you look at some of the countries, it's where the French settled. And then the European side, it was England. There was even some Scandinavian people in there. But France is obviously the most.
Right.
So that I wasn't I mean, it's good to know all that other thing, all those other countries, but that was really wanted to do.
No,
but one thing go ahead.
Yeah, no, we'll come back to it, but they're going to wrap me in a little bit, so I wanted to get a couple of other things in there. But yeah, it's amazing to go back and follow your DNA, and I'm sure we're going to check on what you're doing with the DNA and Family Roots episode, and that's going to be amazing to a lot of people. So you'll tell us where to go to get all of that information. But can you speak about briefly your contributions of producing the Black Kung Fu Chick?
So I am one of the producers of the Black Kung Fu Chick, and just quickly to sum it up, it is about a young girl who lives in South Central LA or South Los Angeles, is what we're now calling it. And she wants to be a doctor. She runs into a little bit of trouble. She needs a little help. And then she meets this Chinese American teacher who will help her out. And this series, it's basically, what's important about it is that it's about regular people. When people hear about South Los Angeles, they're thinking, oh my God, the gang, you know, all this other crazy stuff. But what people don't realize is that many people in these neighborhoods are just regular people. And that's what it really is about. It's about a normal girl who has these dreams and she wants to see them through.
Wonderful. Where can we go to get all this information?
You can go to my website, which is undergroundmagnolia.com. Undergroundmagnolia.com.
Undergroundmagnolia.com. Desiréia Valteau, thank you so much for sharing that information with us. And we want to just tune in and check out some of the things that you're doing.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, good stuff. Great work. Thank you. Thank you for all that you're putting in.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Right. Desiréia Valteau, host, writer, and producer, Underground Magnolia Podcast. We'll take a break right here, but Bobby C is up next with the latest in the world of sports. Don't move a muscle.